They laughed at me before I even opened my mouth. Not loud laughter, not the kind that echoes just that quiet, knowing smile people give when they've already decided who you are. I was standing there in a borrowed jacket that didn't quite fit hands, still smelling faintly of grease no matter how hard I scrubbed them, and the man across the table tilted his head and said, "So, you're the new guy." The way he said it told me everything. Yeah, that was the moment I knew this wasn't just another bad day, this was going to be a fight. My name doesn't matter much anymore because where I come from, names don't open doors. People like me were raised to keep our heads down, do the work, don't complain. I grew up in a place where hard work was a religion and complaining was a sin. My mom cleaned houses, my dad fixed anything with moving parts until his body gave out. I learned early that if you wanted something, you worked twice as hard for half the credit. That lesson stuck maybe too well. I thought education would change things. I really did. I pushed my way through school, studied at night, while everyone else slept, dreamed about a life where my hands weren't always cracked and tired. But life has a funny way of humbling you. Degrees don't mean much when you don't have the right last name or the right connections. I spent years being told, "We'll call you," and watching my phone stay silent. Eventually, you stop expecting miracles and start fixing what's right in front of you. That's how I ended up working maintenance at a high-end property development firm, the kind of place with glass walls, polished floors, and people who never look you in the eye. They called me Buddy, Chief sometimes. Hey you, I fixed their elevators, unclogged their sinks, listened to them complain about things that cost more than my yearly salary. I learned their routines, their tempers, their little power games. One guy in particular, I'll call him Grant, loved reminding me where I stood. Careful with that, he'd say, watching me work. "That equipment costs more than you make in a year." He'd smile after like it was a joke. It wasn't. The thing about being underestimated is that it's exhausting, but it's also dangerous for the people doing it. They don't see you coming. I didn't plan revenge, didn't wake up one day thinking I'd prove anyone wrong. I just did my job. I listened. I learned. When something broke, I understood why. When a system failed, I knew where the cracks were because I was the one crawling through them. The turning point came on a day that started like any other. Coffee tasted burnt, my back hurt, and Grant was already in a bad mood. There was a major inspection scheduled, investors flying in suits everywhere. Tension hung in the air. Around noon, one of the main systems went down. Not a small one. I'm talking about the kind of failure that makes executives sweat and phones light up. Suddenly, everyone remembered my name. They crowded around me, throwing instructions, blaming each other, panic creeping into their voices. Grant snapped, "Can you fix this or not?" I looked at him, really looked at him, and for the first time I didn't feel small. "I can." I said, "Calm, but you need to let me work." He scoffed, stepped back anyway. Funny how power shifts when something important stops working. As I dug into the problem, I realized something wasn't right. This wasn't an accident. Shortcuts had been taken. Reports adjusted, warnings ignored. Decisions made to save money and boost numbers before the inspection. Stuff that, if discovered, would end careers. My hands moved automatically, but my mind was racing. I could fix it quietly like always, or I could do something else. When the system came back online, relief washed over the room. Applause, even awkward and brief. Grant clapped me on the shoulder harder than necessary. "See, that's why we keep you around." Something in me snapped, not loudly, just enough. I cleared my throat. "There's something you should know," I said. The room went quiet. I laid it all out calmly, clearly. No anger, just facts. The shortcuts, the risks, the paper trail. You could feel the temperature drop. Grant's face went pale, then red. He tried to laugh it off, interrupt me, but I kept going. Years of being ignored taught me how to speak when it finally mattered. The investors listened. Questions were asked. Phones came out. People started connecting dots. After that day, everything changed. Investigations followed. People who used to walk past me suddenly wanted to talk. Grant stopped showing up. When he did, he wouldn't meet my eyes. I wasn't promoted overnight, didn't suddenly become rich, but something deeper shifted. I was seen. Not as the help, not as background noise, but as someone who mattered. The irony is I didn't win by yelling or showing off. I won by knowing my worth when no one else bothered to ask. I'd spent so long being quiet that when I finally spoke, people listened. And yeah, it felt good, not gonna lie. It felt like standing up after being pushed down for years. But here's the part people don't always like. Success doesn't magically erase the past. Some folks were happy for me. Others weren't. Whispers started. He got lucky. He stabbed people in the back. Funny how telling the truth gets called betrayal when it threatens the wrong people. I had nights where I questioned myself, wondered if I should have stayed quiet like before. Then I'd remember all the times silence cost me something. One afternoon, I ran into Grant outside the building. He looked smaller, somehow. Tired. He sneered. "You think you're better than us now?" I paused, then shook my head. "No," I said. "I just think I was always worth more than you thought." He didn't reply. I'm not telling this story to paint myself as a hero. I'm just a guy who got tired of being invisible. The world is full of people like me working in the shadows, holding things together while being talked down to. And it's also full of people who mistake position for value, who think respect comes with a title instead of being earned. If you've ever been underestimated, judged by your job, your clothes, your background, you know that quiet anger, that slow burn. The kind that makes you laugh it off in public and replay it in your head at night. My advice: learn, watch, build yourself quietly. Because when your moment comes, and it will, you won't need to scream. Your actions will speak louder than anything you could say. Now, here's where I want to hear from you. Was I right to speak up knowing it would cost people their jobs? Should I have stayed quiet and grateful? Or is silence just another way of helping injustice survive? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what you would have done, and if you've ever been on either side of a moment like this. Let's talk about it.